wife isn't.
Try not to, at least.
My son didn't sleep, and I always thought the people who said their children, slept all night or most of the night, I thought they were liars. Until my daughter was born, and she slept most of the night.
Mayor can be next to Joe for the first application.
Is that you?
We're out of chairs.
Yeah, it's funny because we kind of swore there as my wife,
You're the one
was a
doing all
real
that,
heavy
right?
sleeper and I
Just
wasn't.
wait on your guys.
Now that we have a baby, it's the other way around.
Okay,
She
yeah.
wakes up at the hint of any kind
Yeah,
To
yeah.
interrupt this
sound.
conversation.
So
Guy baby
they're
stories.
fairly rare. Yeah.
Chairs. Like sitting on a board.
Yeah, they're hard.
You're too busy then.
Yeah, the meetings will go quicker because these are really uncomfortable.
Yeah, they really are.
already
It's gonna be hard to fall asleep.
almost 4 weeks behind.
Ooh,
Just have to go forward.
I need to be able to reach them.
yeah, they go down.
No, I gotta put this under
I
my
like
seat.
it.
Maybe you can grow, we'll give you some
Go with
plant
the
food.
floor they have.
You feel like Lily Tomlin in the big chair.
They have this black kind that I like.
Did you ever watch that? I used
Yeah.
to love that when I was little.
Drawings to get the county.
You tall folks look kind of uncomfortable in
Yeah,
these chairs.
Like, we dropped it
Hard to
down
get
a
any
bit.
anybody.
It's the last house. The last house.
Well, one thing is, the armrest used to go under the table, and that's what scarfed them up.
At least the upholstery.
These come up.
Everybody ready?
Oh, do they?
Good morning. This is Citrus County Planning and Development Commission hearing for November the 20th, 2025. If you'd like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing to Thee, our county, and its residents. In the Lord's name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, for the courtesy of the applicants, the board, and those around you, if you can place your cell phone on mute or airplane mode. And may we get the roll call, please?
Yes, good morning. The following Planning and Development Commission members are present. Chair Richard Barmez, David Bramblett, first vice chair, Robert Shera, second vice chair, Stuart Bozeman, Jeanette Collins, Michael Facemeyer, and Kurt Stone.
Thank you. If any person decides to appeal any decisions made by this commission with respect to any matter considered at this hearing, he or she will need a record of the proceedings for such purpose, and he or she may need to ensure that the verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which records would include testimony and the evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. During the public input portion of the meeting, individuals are given 3 minutes, and representatives of an organization are given 5 minutes. When anyone wishing to speak comes to the podium, please complete the yellow form to hand to the recording secretary, and please print your name, address, and the number of the application that you're wishing to speak on. The forms can be found at the podium at the front door. If representing an organization, the letter of the authorization must accompany the speaker, and comments will be limited to the topics being heard. So please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the tape record. So at this time, I'm going to open the podium up to the public. This is an opportunity for you to come forward to address this commission on any issues that you may wish, but this is not the time for you to come up to speak on any application. Anyone? I'm seeing no one. I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting down. We do have minutes to approve for July the 17th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes from July 17th, 2025 as submitted.
Second.
We got a first by Commissioner Facemark, second by Commissioner Shera. Any other further discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. May we get the staff announcements, please? It's been a while.
Don't get used to this configuration. I mean, this configuration will stay the same because the IT worked on the cameras and the microphones, but we're probably gonna move through over here, shift a little bit so shift things around and make it a little more comfortable. In front of you, most of you have, or should have a card, Citrus 2050. This is the comprehensive plan consultant that the county has hired, Inspire Placemaking. So he's asking, Eric wanted us to pass this out. He asked if all of you can please sign up on there and fill out the poll. Anybody that's watching, please do so. And you might want to sign up there for updates too, but they do want to get some information from people, so that's what you'll be doing for that. As far as the applications today, we do have a consultant for the IMAs, so I'd like to move them ahead of the medical marijuana, let them, there I am. Let them do their applications, and then we'll do the medical marijuana at the end, since that's simply internal. And Eric is not here today, so in his absence, I have nothing else.
Staff report and have any comments or concerns?
No. Be honest with you, I did a lot of due diligence with them prior to buying the property. And, they stated that with the conditions and I guess all the way the rules read out and the conditions of the property, that it would meet all the conditions to be able to, accomplish what we wanted to do.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
Excuse me. What is that structure labeled, I think, number 3, sort of in the middle?
In the middle? Well, it's a unique structure. I didn't build it, but from what I understand from my neighbor behind me, that's been there forever, I guess, he said that was used to raise macaw parrots. So it's a 16-foot by 100-foot building that's got, walls, and it's metal roofed and everything. It's concrete. It's got drains throughout of it, but it's a long corridor. So he told me that allowed the birds to fly back and forth. So I'm going to turn it into my shop, one of my shops, but that's what it is. I think when I looked at the records, I think it was permitted back in like 2006 or something like that, for that building to be built.
All right, thank you very
But
much.
it's unique.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you. We get the staff to come forward and make their presentation.
Good morning, Board. So this is application CU 2025-00012, Rise Construction for Jason and Shannon Hopp. As stated, the subject property is located at 11900 South Istachata Road in Floral City. The property is approximately 19.3 acres and is currently developed with a single-family residence. The single-family residence is intended to be turned into the ADU, and a brand-new single-family dwelling will be established on the property if this is approved. The current zoning of the property is rural residential with mobile homes allowed. Taking a look at the property, as we saw already, this is a view of the subject property. Going past that, this is a northern view. It's off of a dirt road or an easement that follows along the Rails to Trails trail, if you will, or the Withlacoochee State Trail. And they've granted an easement for the property owners there on the left-hand side. So we wanted to make sure you kind of saw in general where it's at. The site plan is pretty straightforward. They're asking for a new single-family dwelling. The current single-family dwelling is going to be an ADU. It's significantly far off the property. I believe it said 239 foot from the property line. So we're pretty far off. And, all in all, the staff doesn't have any concerns.
All right, does the applicant have any questions for staff? Mr. Hopp, do you have any questions for staff? Does the board have any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair. Morning, Frankie.
Morning.
When we look at the map, go back several slides, please, where we show the zoning designation. It was a slide that had the blue parcel. There you go. Is the parcel in question just the blue parcel?
Correct.
Okay. Second is, for the previous applications of this type we've seen, the ADU was going to be a new facility and the existing home was, or the existing structure was the home. Is there any reason that we can't, take the existing home, make it an ADU, and then build a new facility?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's all going to be done through the residential permitting. However, they're allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit with your approval. It could be up to the size that they've requested, and that'll become the new single-family dwelling, and the one that's on site will become the ADU, and it'll all be permitted as such.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from, other questions? Commissioner Facemeyer.
Frankie, this is just a general question. Is there a limit to the number of ADUs allowed on a property? Because just one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nee.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bramlett.
I just wanted to, could you refresh me on the ADU specs again? Like, so what is allowed as far as square footage? And then I know that we did, I think, 5, 10, and maybe 20 acre.
So by right, any property is allowed an 850 square foot ADU. Then they created the conditional use option. If you have a 5 acre property, you could go up to 1,500 square foot. And if you have a 10 acre property, you could go up to 2,500 square foot. I believe in this scenario, they're asking for a 2,010 square foot ADU. So it's under the maximum allowed. And because they're over the 10 acres, it fits within that allowance.
Thank you very much.
Frankie, do you know what the size of the existing ADU or single-family home is?
Well, the single-family home on site would be the 2010, I believe it was.
Right, but you know
The
what
new
this,
home is going to be significantly
do
larger.
you know what the square footage is of the existing structure?
That is the existing structure to the
Oh, okay,
2010.
okay. Never-
The new home is the one that's going to be a little bit larger, so it's going to exceed that of the accessory dwelling unit. There is a floor plan on page 29 of the paperwork that does offer, a little bit of an idea of what the home's going to look like. I'm not positive if there's square footage on it, though.
The staff report says 3115 for square footage for the new home.
Thank you.
It's hard to pull that up when you're up.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Frankie.
Thank you.
At this time, the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come to the podium. And as a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes, organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation that you want to be entered into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting down, bring the discussion back to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Shara.
this application seems to meet all the criteria for the ADU application. A bit unique only in that the existing structure will be redesignated as the ADU, and they'll build a new structure, but that doesn't seem to be an issue with staff, and it falls within the criteria. So I will support this.
Thank you, Commissioner Shara. Commissioner Bramlett.
For the purpose of a motion,
For a purpose of a motion, Commissioner Bramlett.
the Planning and Development Commission finds application number CU-2025-00012 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board approves with the conditions the application based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition. It has been determined that approving the proposed conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest, that there is compliance with special rules governing individual conditional uses of the type involved, that the proposed development with conditions and safeguards attached would be generally compatible with the adjacent properties and other properties in the district, and that the PDC is empowered under the section of the LDC described in the application to grant this conditional use.
Second.
We have a first by Commissioner Bramlett, a second by Commissioner Facemeyer. Any other further discussions on this matter? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, sir. All right, next, Joanne, do you want to do the 486 or the Cardinal Road?
I want to do the Cardinal application. The 486 is a workshop, so if we can do the
Okay.
Cardinal OA 2025-002, and the consultant is here with a PowerPoint. And as she comes forward, you'll recall that we had had to redo the comp plan through this board and the comprehensive plan, the standards of the IMA. We did rewrite that. That is part of your packet, the new comp plan standards. And this is to adopt the land development code standards.
All right, so we're going to go with the OA-2025-00002. Welcome.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Amanda Warner. I'm a planner and project manager for Wade Trim. We've been assisting the county with this project for a number of years now, and we're glad to get to this point today. I'm going to provide a history of the project, go through how we got here, and then present the ordinance that's before you this morning. So how did we get here? So the Suncoast Parkway extension, the Suncoast Parkway 2 project by FDOT started a number of years ago. In 2019, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council prepared a report regarding the potential extension of the Suncoast Parkway. And in that report, the county identified a focused growth scenario for the interchanges as they were developed into Citrus County. And starting in 2022, we started holding public meetings regarding that, the county started holding public meetings regarding that growth scenario and used those public meetings essentially to determine management policy preferences. In 2021, the county amended the comprehensive plan to add the cardinal mixed-use future land use category. So that's when this category first appeared in the comprehensive plan. Then in 2022, Wade Trim was engaged to help develop the corresponding land development code amendments to update essentially the land development code to include that Cardinal Street mixed use district, which was adopted as a comprehensive plan policy in 2021. So over the course of the last few years, we have worked with the county to work on those land development code amendments, and there was a point in time where collectively the county decided to go back and revise the comprehensive plan policy that was originally adopted in 2021. And so that revision was then adopted again in 2024. So we went back after that comprehensive plan amendment occurred. We went back, revisited the land development code that we had been working on, and revised the land development code to reflect those more recent amendments to the comprehensive plan. So that's how we got here today in 2025. And so we're presenting today the land development code amendments, those updates to reflect the latest comprehensive plan policies. So our schedule getting to this point, again, Wade Trim was engaged in 2022. We started off with a kickoff meeting and driving tour to look at the area, to look at Cardinal Street. In February, we developed a project website and started holding, and this is in 2022, started holding stakeholder focus group meetings and public workshops. In March through August 2022, we developed a draft LDC. And then in September through November, we brought those back to the Planning and Development Commission and the Board of County Commissioners for workshop discussions. Also in January 2023, we held another stakeholder meeting. And in February 2023, we held a workshop with the PDC. And that is the junction in February 2023, where the county collectively decided to go back and rework the original comprehensive plan amendment in the comprehensive plan. So in August 2024, those updated comprehensive policies were adopted. That occurred on August 6th, 2024. And then so we've gone back, as I mentioned, to update the land development code accordingly to reflect those recent amendments. So here we are today. We're starting our series of today meeting with the PDC to review the ordinance, and then ultimately we'll bring this to the Board of County Commissioners. That date is yet to be determined. So back in 2022 and moving into 2023, Redevelopment Management Associates, which was another consultant that we were working with, prepared a market analysis report for the Cardinal Street IMA. That market analysis identified the economic conditions of the region and how those would translate into the extension of the Suncoast Parkway into the area and what that could bring economically for the county. So looking at Cardinal Street specifically, RMA identified that the area could host an intermediate-sized business park catering to the needs of regional healthcare, business, and service professions, that the area was suited to carefully plan commerce, for example, a business park with a campus environment, light industrial or commercial uses. Could support the healthcare sector as an opportunity for a mixed-use lifestyle, and then would also support light industrial, technology, and co-working. There's also a market for commercial retail and automotive near the interchange, looking at some of those transportation-related uses that the parkway would bring, and then the need for design guidelines, for example, complete streets, for that to be critical to the preservation of the sense of community in the area as the community develops. So public and stakeholder engagement occurred really starting in 2022 and through 2023. So we set up a project website initially. This is cardinalstreetima.com. And on that website, we collected public opinion. We had surveys posted there, opportunities for interaction, and also posted current events regarding the project. In 2022, we held a stakeholder meeting and public open house and started to get some of that feedback. There was a desire to preserve the rural character in the area and mitigate environmental impacts, but also looking at opportunities for jobs, employment, everyday commercial services, workforce housing, and other economic benefits. Also in 2022, we held a workshop with the Planning and Development Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. We talked a lot about the ability to aggregate parcels into a cohesive project. We talked about sub-area uses, the potential for gateway uses, really looking at the corridor as a welcome center type area, setbacks by street classification, architectural standards, and talked about open space and what the ratio of open space should be and what should be included or excluded from that. In 2023, this was in early 2023 in January, we held another stakeholder meeting, talked about clarifying non-residential focus in the EDTA, so essentially not permitting new residential in the area, prioritizing food and fuel, some of those parkway transportation-related uses, reducing the setback requirements in the EDTA, providing more flexibility, allowing for some more stories, but also addressing some compatibility concerns by stepping back the uppermost level of those buildings, and then talked more about open space and how open space would be owned, and then we also talked about parking flexibility at those meetings. So the overall outcomes of that engagement in those workshops were that we clarified the EDTA's focus on non-residential. So again, the no new residential permitted in the EDTA or the Economic Development Target Area. We revised those uses to prohibit mini warehousing and self-storage and to also allow for some of the tourism welcome center type uses that were discussed. We clarified the aggregation based on project size, not parcel size, so really allowing for multiple parcels to be assembled together into cohesive projects. We distinguished between property line versus center line setbacks, talked about buffering, landscaping standards. We also put some language in there regarding dark sky friendly features. This was in response to some of the public comment we received about maintaining the rural character and kind of allowing for economic development, but also softening that so it would be more compatible with the existing development that's out there. And then define short-term versus long-term parking and signage standards as well. We also removed maximum height in the EDTA, so that'll be determined by PUD, but there was no change to the mixed-use maximum height, which is 3 stories. And then we clarified architectural styles, better defined horizontal versus vertical mixed use. What does that mean? We defined that more thoroughly. Talked more about that upper story setback and further defined some pedestrian bicycle circulation and parking standards, and again, furthered the stormwater retention and open space ratios. So the comprehensive plan update that was just recently completed on August 6, 2024, that was the most recent comprehensive plan amendment, did a number of things to really kind of reorganize that comprehensive plan amendment. County staff carried this comprehensive plan amendment forward. So it really reorganized the sequence of policies, clarified the triggers for implementation, provided more vesting language, removed the requirement for at least one of the land uses to be residential. Mixed use is now encouraged rather than required. And it generally retains the same permitted versus prohibited uses, but replaced parkway-related uses, which was a vague term, to more specific hotel and travel accommodation type uses. And then the minimum project size was reduced from 8 acres and 18 acres, respectively, to just 5 acres in both the EDTA and the mixed use, so that was brought down. And it established a maximum density of 6 dwelling units per acre, with a bonus allowed up to 20 dwelling units per acre. And then it also removed some of those requirements for the residential in terms of the maximum of 50% single-family detached units. Now, there's really no cap on the ratio of single-family to multifamily type units. It also established an FAR, or floor area ratio, of 1.0, added some screening and buffering of incompatible uses language, provide flexible open space standards, and required central water and sewer service for new development, as well as encouraging gray water lines. So that was the comprehensive plan amendment that we were reviewing to bring the land development code into consistency with that. So the Land Development Code updates, this is the 2025 version. So we started this in June and basically worked through October to bring the ordinance to you today for consideration. What we heard from stakeholders during that time was a request for the adjustment of various standards based on implementation considerations. So we worked with county staff to really look at how this would be implemented and if there were any concerns there. There was also a request for clarification regarding the mix of uses. As I mentioned, the requirement for non-residential and residential to be mixed together was removed. So we further clarified that in the Land Development Code, so that would be understood. And then basically it specifies that that's encouraged rather than required. So this is the Cardinal Street IMA, or Interchange Management Area. This is the boundary that was adopted with the Comprehensive Plan Amendment. The area shown in teal or blue, depending on how it looks on your screen, that is the EDTA, or the Economic Development Target Area. The area within the red boundary that's outside of that blue area is the mixed use area. So there are different standards that apply to each of those sub areas within the Cardinal Street Interchange Management Area. So for the LDC updates, for the Land Development Code updates, a lot of the information was already sitting in the transportation chapter of the Land Development Code, because the IMAs had previously been incorporated into the Land Development Code. So we pulled that information out of Chapter 7 and relocated it and reorganized it accordingly and moved that into Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Chapter 2 is the land use districts, and Chapter 3 is the use standards of the Land Development Code. So Chapter 2, as proposed, new section 2424, the Cardinal Mixed Use District, provides the permitted and prohibited uses, the coverage open space standards, the floor area ratio, and the density standards. And then Chapter 3, the use standards, which is section 3420, provides the purpose and intent, permitted and prohibited uses, and development standards. So that's how those are organized within that. So on a deeper dive on Chapter 2, section 2425 provides permitted and prohibited uses consistent with that new comprehensive plan amendment that was adopted in 2024. The maximum lot coverage being proposed for the economic development target area is 70% or per planned unit development. The mixed use area, the lot coverage is 50% or per planned unit development. The minimum open space would apply to residential uses only as 20% or per planned unit development. The floor area ratio for both areas would be 1.0. The minimum density, which residential is only allowed in the mixed use area. The minimum density would be at least 2.1 dwelling unit per acres, i.e. more than 2 unit per acre. And then the maximum density would be 6 dwelling unit per acre. However, there's an allowance for a density bonus if certain criteria are met. So that density bonus would be 20 units per acre if the project includes some kind of public gathering area, park, school, library, some kind of community asset as part of that development. That provision also allows for any density bonus mandated by local government or by Florida statute. So Chapter 3 provides the purpose and intent. We're talking about job-producing light industrial and transportation-related uses, and then local and community commerce, retail, office, and residential uses. The implementation means for this would be through a comprehensive plan amendment, atlas amendment, and a PUD would be required. And then the applicability subsection describes the geographic limits. So the map that I just showed you provides for vested lots, provides a minimum project size and criteria for lot aggregation, lists the vested non-conforming uses, and then also provides activity triggers. So what would trigger the implementation of this district? That's listed under this Chapter 3. And what we're proposing is that it be triggered by newly proposed development or expansion of existing development beyond a specific threshold, and that is listed in the Land Development Code proposed. The permitted uses are consistent with the comprehensive plan amendment, so there's a required mix of uses, horizontal or vertical distribution of those uses, and ancillary or residential uses to be located behind, above or behind the primary non-residential uses. There's also provision for pedestrian connections in Chapter 3. And then Chapter 3 also provides all of the development standards. So the majority of standards are referred back to other sections of the Land Development Code. So generally, Chapter 2, Section 2300, and Chapter 3, Section 3740 and 3745. However, unique standards specific just to the Cardinal Street Mixed Use District are provided where it would provide more stringent criteria. So minimum setbacks in building two lines, building location orientation, access, circulation, and parking, subdivision standards, landscaping, buffering, fencing, screening, vehicular use area, landscaping requirements, utility screening, site lighting, and signage. And then throughout the proposed Land Development Code, we have provided a number of visual explanations of the standards that provides additional clarification regarding how the standards should be implemented. These are just a sample on the screen, but those illustrations are throughout. And then those development standards also provide building and architectural standards, again, generally referring to other sections of the Land Development Code. However, there's more clarification regarding the mix of uses for the mixed use sub-area. Massing and building height is explained. We're proposing a maximum of 40 feet to the roof line and a maximum of 15.2 feet to the highest appurtenance for the building height, and there would be a maximum of 3 stories. Architectural styles, facades, and elements are described, as well as building materials. And then the development standards also go on to describe parking, bicycle pedestrian access, circulation, safety, and comfort. Provides for trail access. As you know, or may know, the Suncoast Parkway does have a trail that extends along the length of the parkway adjacent to it, and this really provides for some of that trail access and connection. We also have a standard in there that requires the dedication of an easement along Cardinal Street for future construction of multi-use paths that would connect to that trailhead. And then we also have standards regarding transit access and how that would be coordinated with proposed development. And then the development standards also provide access management. I'm not going to go into each one of these, but essentially describing how access management will be maintained on the project. It includes provisions for frontage roads, reverse frontage roads, et cetera. Describes median openings, driveway throw distance, et cetera. And then ultimately, there is a section also under the development standards that describes open space, how that would be implemented, what some of the ownership responsibility for that required open space would be. That open space would only be associated with residential uses. And then also the provision for utilities. We are requiring that new development provide for or provide access to or connections, future connections to central water and sewer. We also encourage regional stormwater on-site retention plans as well as underground utilities. And then we also have a section specific to environmentally sensitive areas in coordination with historic and cultural resources during site development. So that's a summary of the proposed Land Development Code. The ordinance is before you today. You have a copy of that in your packet. Our next step after this meeting, if that ordinance should be approved by the PDC, we would take it to the Board of County Commissioners, hold a public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners, and then the ordinance would be adopted into the Land Development Code. So with that, I'll open it up for any discussion or questions. I'm available to help and answer anything that you have.
All right, does the staff have any questions to start with?
Do you have any questions? I love it, Amanda. I think they've already seen a lot of this, so I appreciate the thoroughness. It looks like a remnant from the previous requirements. I'm talking about section 3424B. The title is required mix of uses. And I saw it in your PowerPoint too, and that reminded me, I didn't catch that before. I think the word required is confusing because it's not actually requiring it, perhaps just mix of uses.
Mix of uses, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a little clearer. And then your PowerPoint too also said required. I'm like, oh, wait, those are no longer required. So they took the Builders Association recommendation of not the same developers are going to want to do commercial and residential, and requiring it was certainly a problem, and that's why we took it out of the comp plan and also in this. So that word is just a little confusing. They also were very careful to take the board's guidance as well that residential can stay residential. So in Cardinal, there's a lot of rural residential lands that don't want any part of this parkway. So that's fine. They can continue, their kids can continue, they can have another house there, put their farm there till the end of time. This is only triggered on certain things like you want to do commercial. And so I think that's a good thing. It was been carried forward. Sorry. All good. That's all I had.
That's good. You did great. Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Amanda?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple, and hopefully the conversation will, bring more things to light.
Sure.
There's a lot of things in here, very well organized. When I look at this, when I look at the draft of the LDC, is it applicable and is it enforceable? And can we interpret it properly going forward? And I think what I'm seeing it is. One thing you said this morning that caught me by surprise, you said open space is only required for residential areas and the mixed use.
That's correct.
In the ETDA, is open space a requirement?
No, because it's not corresponding to residential, so it's not required in the EDTA area.
Okay, wetland areas and water retention is still a requirement, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so the non-residential standards will still apply. We still have to you're going to see these as PUDs anyway. But the non-residential is still going to have ISR, they're still going to have floor area ratio meeting, and they're going to have those open areas. So when she's talking about open space numbers, that 20% is just we're trying to force the subdivisions to also meet it. But non-res has their own standards, and they still have to comply with those.
I see. And the minimum is 20% that can include
20
water retention areas.
20%, and as it's written currently, it can include water retention areas, yes.
Let's see, I had another one here if I can find it. Okay, let some others jump in and I'll come back to it.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, if I can. Gray water. We talked about this when we met previously. Gray water has to be built into the initial design or the capability for gray water. And of course, that's going to mean that the county has to have the capability of delivering gray water through its wastewater treatment plants. Is it the intention that any of these projects that come forward that would or could come forward would be required to have gray water capabilities built in, even if the supply of gray water is not available today?
How it's written currently is that water and sewer is required for the new development coming in. How it's written currently in this proposed land development code is that gray water is encouraged but not required, is how it's written currently.
And if I'll add, these have to come before you for PUDs. And as PUDs, that is something they should be trying to do. At that point, we'll look, is gray water available? Is it going to be available in our lifetime? And our utilities can tell us. Right now, it's not. We know that. But it might be in the future. It's encouraged. So every PUD that comes before you will be looking at that. And if it's a possibility, we definitely would want to push that but not require it until we actually have it there.
I want to make a suggestion that it should be the infrastructure, the purple pipe, should in fact, at a minimal cost when these are being developed, it should be a requirement. And then at that time that the gray water is available, then they would be required to hook up. Otherwise, it would be very difficult, very expensive to go back in and modify a facility for gray water.
Agreed. I'll talk to utilities about that. I think that already is something Water Resources is pushing, but it's not at this time. I'll check on that. It's a good point.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Amanda?
Is water and sewer available in that particular area now?
My understanding is it is. It's running down Cardinal or is about to run down Cardinal in this area. Yes.
Both water and sewer?
Yes.
Okay.
Water line I know for sure, and the sewer line they were working on, and last I heard, I think it was actually all the way down the Cardinal Farms area, which is the far west part of the IMA.
Okay, so
Again, they have to have it regardless in this IMA, but I think it's already there.
Right, so my question is that the IMA is quite long.
Yes.
We're gonna only go to the very western corner of it, and then anyone that chooses to develop would be required to bring it the rest of the way, if maybe they're on the east side of the
Correct.
parkway.
Correct. So this would require them to do it. We know it's in the area, and they'd have to run it to it. Yeah.
Commissioner Bozeman.
And, thank you. And where is the treatment facility going to be located, or are we going to hook into an existing one, and does it have capacity to support this kind of increased volume?
So Amanda's the planning consultant, so she wouldn't know. That's our water resources, and they did run water up the parkway. And so I think that connects down to Sugar Mill, but I may be wrong. Our water resource is probably cringing if they heard that. But I know they have capacity, and then the sewer was also connecting in that area. And like I said, I think it ran all the way to Cardinal Farms. So when the Cardinal Farms development was going through hearings, that was something that they already had worked out. It was about there. So they're going to have to figure it out if it's not there, but it is in the area, and we have capacity, yes. That was the whole idea.
And I would agree with Commissioner Shera's comment about mandatory on gray water utilization for irrigation, for whatever, because these developments, residential, as more and more of them come online, there's going to be a greater need for disposal. And I think this is an ideal way to dispose of it, provided it's clean to the proper requirement, okay? So I would like to see that maybe a little bit more strongly worded, but you say that would be addressed in the individual PUDs that would come before?
It could be. We can also do something language like if gray water is available, it must be connected, something like that. Right now, I know it's not available, so that I'm sure of, but individual PUDs would be looking at that, but we can say if available, must be connected, something like that.
And from a cost standpoint, it would be certainly like Mr. Shera indicated, a whole lot less expensive to do it on the front end, at least to stub it out in the general projected areas where development's going to occur ahead rather than coming up and ripping up roads and sidewalks and driveways to install it. So, I mean, I think that would be very prudent.
Okay. Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shera.
I guess just as a follow-up, Joanna, I think the wording should be stronger than if available, it will be connected. Back to Mr. Bozeman, the infrastructure should be put in place that when it is available, it will be connected. That's a big difference. You don't, to the point being made, laying the purple pipe of the proper diameter to the stub-up locations is relatively inexpensive at that point in time, and probably next to impossible at a later point in time from a cost and permitting perspective. So just for consideration there. I did want to comment on the graphics. Being a graphics person, I really like the graphics and the way they're shown, particularly when it comes to adjacent uses, distances, minimum distances, maximum distances, even down to the lighting, where we've had some conversations in the past. And I think that's a good addition, and we should use it more broadly in our, in the LDC updates.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Collins.
I sort of am coming in late on this. I missed out. I know there was a lot of stuff that went on as we went through workshops and everything. My first question was on the requirement for PUDs. Was that something that came from the board? So to me, this is very reminiscent of almost a form-based code. And if you delve into those design standards, it's almost a negotiation with staff to meet those. And I was wondering why the extra requirement, that extra layer for the PUD, do you know?
So this was set up, I'll start and then I'll let Joanna add to it. So from the very beginning of us being engaged with the county, it had always been moved forward as a PUD, as the implementation mechanism for this, just to provide the flexibility for, we're looking at establishing really cohesive projects and trying to work with the developer to get something that's going to benefit the county both aesthetically, economically, et cetera. And so that was one of the mechanisms that we discussed with county staff, is probably providing the most flexibility, but also the ability to really get out of the project what the county desired. So, and I'll let Joanna contribute.
Yeah, so the commissioners were very conscious that they did not want to assign the CMU district to anybody. They didn't want to change anybody's land use districts. They're still the underlying. So they have to come through anyway for a comp plan amendment and atlas amendment to change to CMU to do these non-residential out in this really rural area. So adding a PUD onto it is not an extra step. It's actually part of the application. It's just, they have to meet the standards. So that's why. They did not want to change anybody's land use districts up front.
So again, this is almost like a floating layer, and then if somebody opts to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, because I was thinking even, not so much in the EDTA, which I think this is a perfect area for the light industrial, actually, but in the mixed-use area, I was thinking maybe they can still accomplish it through the PUD, because I could see where you have more even build-to-line and more denser development, and then have a larger open space and, requires small parks and, as things get designed. So the only other thing that I would mention, too, is under the architectural standards. I know we talked about the pictures, and I really like that. It'd be nice to almost see some more examples of those architectural, like when you're talking about breaking up buildings with the canopies and the porches and things like that. I don't know if that's something that can still be added. It just works a lot, I found out, for developers to look at these things. And the only other thing, and maybe this is more for legal, on the sign section, it's on my page 112, it's item 1X. Let me get to that myself. It talks a little bit about wording, and I'm wondering if that meets the requirements now for content-neutral signage requirements. It would be, let's see, in here it's page 112, but it would be, I guess, 23 of 39 of the draft ordinance. And it says, no governmental signs, non-governmental signs that use the word stop, look, danger, or any similar word, phrase, or symbol. But it's more the wording, and I'm wondering whether that's something. I've never seen this language before. I had worked with a sign ordinance where we really had to go and clean it up to get all of that type of stuff out of there. Do you think that's an issue, having that in there that somebody could challenge, or?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner, Madam Attorney, sorry, I'm reading. Yes, please.
So I think that when you're looking at stop, look, danger, those are regulatory type words. So I think that you always, under any type of First Amendment analysis, government gets to reasonably restrict. So I think that the courts would look at that and say that, if it was challenged, the courts could look at that and make a determination whether they were regulatory words that were needed, stop, look, danger type of thing. I think that they would pass muster as they're drafted. But we are very sensitive to, the message.
Yes, thank you. That's all.
And if I could add, talking about the more specific graphics, which they're great. There's one more step they mentioned in their PowerPoint, but you haven't seen, called a user guide. That's the final step. So after it's adopted, they also prepare a user guide, which is really, really detailed graphics to give out to applicants. They did it for the 44 IMA. I think we finally posted it online. Very great. If you want to look at it, that's some really specific graphics, step-by-steps, in addition to the Land Development Code for developers, and that would have that in it. It's not here.
Yeah, and I can speak for the State Road 44 version that she mentioned. We do have the architectural images in there, so when it lists the different styles, it provides an image of each style in that guidebook. So,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shara.
Joanna, can you either send us the link or tell us where to find a user guide?
Absolutely.
Thanks, appreciate it. I have a follow-up question on the vested lots. In this area in particular with Cardinal and several, at least in one previous application, the issue of compatibility came up because it's basically a rural, agricultural, low-density area. And the area identified as the MUA, the mixed-use area, allows buildings up to 3 stories, 42 feet. And the question would be, where this is located, and in a mixed use, and the minimum distance set from the boundary of that mixed use to a non-MUA participant or property under a vested use, aren't we going to get into issues of compatibility, where someone is sitting here looking at us today saying, this is not compatible with the rural nature of this particular community, because now I have to, my home's been here, I'm not in the MUA, or I am in the MUA, I'm a vested use, but I've got to look at the back of a hotel, or I've got to look at the back of a office building. I'm not sure how we solve that,
Yeah.
but I see that's a potential issue.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond to that. So there's a couple of things that we built in here to help mitigate that concern regarding compatibility. So one is the setback from adjacent properties that aren't part of the IMA. So we have standards for that for both the EDTA and for the mixed use area.
That's 50 feet, correct?
Yes, it's 50 feet for the EDTA and then 20 feet for the MUA.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. Additionally, we also have incompatible use buffer language in here that provides for a type D buffer for incompatible uses. So, and the criteria for that, and bear with me, I believe it's adjacent to residential, let me see here, incompatible land use buffer, type D buffer standard, applies to areas adjacent to public parks, environmentally sensitive areas, or parcels principally used for residential or zoned rural residential or agricultural. So those types of uses would require an additional buffer in between those and these areas. So the area within the IMA would have to provide that additional buffer. Also, for the building height, we have a requirement in here that for 3-story buildings, anything above a 2 stories has to be stepped back an additional 10 feet. So if they go to 3 stories, they have to step back that uppermost story an additional 10 feet, or they could, in lieu of that, set back the building an additional 10 feet as well. So that's in there to help provide additional, as the building gains height, additional separation between that development and the adjacent properties that are outside of the IMA.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Attorney, did you have something?
I did, but I've already lost it.
You were talking about the link to the 44 graphics.
Thank you. Is the user guide incorporated into the LDC anywhere?
No, it's an extra step for land development code for staff. It's not part of the land development code. It was a guide, extra step as part of their contract. We adopted the LDC, and that's just to help developers.
Should we have a reference in the LDC that it somehow is applicable?
I think that you should.
Or they just
Yeah,
just say
I agree,
thanks?
but I'm just trying to think of how to do that. It's a whole ordinance amendment, but
If you want to require it, I mean, right now it's just fluff.
well, no, it's not
Unless
fluff.
you
It's a good guidance because it follows the land development code and gives a more explanatory guidance than staff could do. So I disagree with you that it's fluff, but understood.
You have no ability to enforce it.
No, it's already in the land development code, yes. I will, on an upcoming amendment in all our spare time, we'll put that in the land development code.
Next meeting.
We could include
Yeah,
it in
next-
this
no.
one. Could we include it in this one?
Yes. Yes, I'll give you some language to put in for that.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm here for.
Commissioner Bozeman.
I think what you've put together looks very well done. There's obviously some questions, but overall, if you get on the Suncoast Parkway and drive south to 98 to 50, 52, 54, 56, you can see what's coming this direction. One thing that I need to address, and maybe this is not the right venue to address it, is the lack of anything mentioning transportation needs. Cardinal Lane is a 2-lane, skinny little road. It's very old. And you've got the Suncoast Parkway, and then Cardinal Lane dead ends into 491. We've talked about 491 plenty of times, about the condition of that road. Is there any provision being considered to address that prior to and or in conjunction with additional development in this area? Because it's coming.
So right now, our Technical Services Department division, one of the comprehensive plan elements is multimodal transportation, and in that it contains a list of the level of service for all of our roads. Our consultant has done that. It's outdated. If they're working on a new one, they've actually just put out, I think they've hired a consultant or put it out to bid. So sometime in the next year or so, we will have a new, hopefully not in a year, we'll have a new element, and it'll look at all the roads. So it'll look at Cardinal with the IMA and the Parkway open. It'll look at 486 with the IMA and all the development, and we'll see what it says, and that will guide us as to whether Cardinal, right now on that particular item in the comp plan, it says no, Cardinal's fine the way it is. But the new one will look at the IMA, and we'll see what they say, if we need to address Cardinal, we need to widen 491 in that area, whatever. So that's what's upcoming. It's not actually part of this. This just allows the development, but they are going to be considering everything.
Well, as long as it's clearly understood that it will impact it significantly. If you drive south and get off the Parkway and go east or west on those other roads, that's what this is going to look like. Now, it may be down the road quite a number of years, but it's going to take quite a number of years to make something happen. And I think that we continue to see this without addressing that. We're just looking for a problem. I mean, what's going on right now at 486 and 491 has met that need to some degree. It's still busy as all get out with the new development there. And maybe the development down there is going to be a little different, probably not a whole lot different, but somewhat different. But it's going to be a problem. And until we address that, we're just asking for future problems without a good plan in place.
Hi, I'm Brad Cornelius with Waytrim. I work with Amanda, and I've seen y'all before. So transportation is one of the things that I do. What is in the Land Development Code amendment before you today, which we also had in State Road 44, we do have access management standards and requirements. So, and as Joanna has said, as these projects come before the county under the PUD, that would be a big part of that discussion on how best to address transportation impacts and standards and development. And, you know, the idea and the intent here is not to have driveways all along Cardinal, is we have interconnected projects and cross-access and all that. So that is actually part of the proposed land development code that would promote that to occur. But I 100% agree, that's going to be more work, more analysis, as Joanna said, that's working through on the larger transportation issue that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, the cross-access is a fantastic concept that's, you know, in place in a lot of new developments, commercial, 486, 491, a lot of those places. So you're right. But the width and the number of lanes on Cardinal Lane, that's Correct. The focus. That needs to be one of the main focuses, because there's no way safely and efficiently that road's going to handle whatever's planned to come there. And there's going to be development there, I can assure you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If I could, it's just because that word up on the screen says discussion. I mean, we normally can't get into this, but the reality is, to Mr. Bozeman's point, the broader strategic plan for adjacent to and support of these EDTAs and these MUAs is going to end up in a bottleneck, not a physical bottleneck, but a procedural bottleneck. When these are published and they're adopted and published, and developers come forward, and then you know, the rubber's going to meet the road when someone says, where is Cardinal Road today? Where is it going to be? What is the distance from the center line of Cardinal Road? What version of Cardinal Road are we looking at? Where is the wastewater treatment facility? These are the kind of things that really need to be thought of in that strategic plan beyond what we can do, what is permitted, prohibited in this particular area. This is great work, but so what comes next? So I'll back off of that, but that really, under the discussion mode, it will be creating a series of issues for staff and our boards and the commission when we have to face those kinds of decisions without the broader plan or strategy, how we're going to get those done.
All right, any other questions? I only have one, and it probably don't have nothing to do with exactly Cardinal. But on the Cardinal mixed use, I'm looking at your the parking, bicycle, pedestrian access, and transit. And there's always dawned on me. Why do we have an unlit media at an intersection that's not lit for bicycles to? You got a 20-foot parkway, and then you're gonna throw a concrete media in the middle of it. Why do we have that? It's everywhere.
I don't know what I'm sorry.
Look on page 155. And as you're driving up our new 491, you see the same thing without the ballard in the middle. Nothing's lit up. There's no street lights out there. I mean,
I think you're looking at the workshop for 46, 155.
155.
Yeah, that's the workshop for 46. Oh, that's Cardinal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Cardinal. I'm just curious why we have those concrete medias going up Norvell Bryant, 491.
Is this the slide? This slide, okay.
Yeah, that one, that media right there in the middle. Typically, we don't have the ballard in the middle. There's just weeds and dirt all the way up the trail, and there's no lighting. And when you're coming through there, you're taking a 20-foot access and cutting it down. Not sure why the media is there. I mean, why do we do that, Joanna? I mean, it's just a...
Just to speak to this photo, this is the trail. Just to orient everyone where this photo is, this is the trailhead for the Suncoast Trail Connector trailhead there, just to the west of the Suncoast Parkway corridor. So this is just to the west on Cardinal, looking northbound. This crossing, and I believe this was part of FDOT's trail
It is. It's not something
installation.
that planning staff would ever have any input on, but this is the FDOT design for the trailhead.
I was just curious because, especially this, I know exactly where that's at, and there's absolutely no lights there. So in a dark area coming through there, and you're on a bicycle, which you probably shouldn't be on a bicycle at night without a light, but, there's a lot of crazy fools like me out there doing that. Could run right into it. I just thought it was a safety issue, and I was 3 or 4 times reading this over the last couple of weeks. I said, I got to ask that question because it's killing me.
I do
Madam
a lot
Attorney.
of biking on a lot of different trails. Whenever you come to an intersection like that, they have that type of.
Right.
I'm not exactly, it must be like a DOT standard or something for multi-purpose paths, because they're everywhere. I mean, I've done a lot of trails.
Only in this county, though.
No.
No?
Tarpon Springs, everywhere they have that when you come to an intersection. So I think it's probably a DOT safety kind of thing, like, hey, you're coming to a main intersection here.
I would add that you're supposed to be off of your bike and walking your bike across the road too. So if you're running into that median at the intersection
We're on
of
a
the
bike
road,
trail, though.
you're I don't know if it's called jaywalking, but you're being illegal, right? You're supposed to walk your bike across the road.
I know you're on a bike trail.
Stop at stop signs too.
You're supposed to stop.
Stop.
I'm just stating the facts.
Stop sign should be larger.
All right, lay off the bicycles. Thank you.
All right, so I don't know if you want to open to the public or not, if you're done with your discussion.
We don't have any other questions. I will open it up to the public. At this time, the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation that you want to enter into record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Would anybody like to come and speak on this matter? All right, seeing none, I will close the public portion of the meeting down. Apparently Amanda and Wade Trim did an awesome job putting it together. I think so anyway. Bring it back to the board for any further discussions.
And as far as conditions, then we remove the required for the mix of uses. I will talk to utilities, water resources, and get a better wording for the gray water availability connection. I'm sure there's a better wording than what I've come up with on the fly. And we will incorporate a reference to a future user guide.
And did anyone reference what Clark Stillwell's?
That's on 486.
46.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay.
So we need a motion.
and a driving tour to look at the area and the current development that's out there today. We've been working pretty much through September and October to develop the administrative outline that's before you today just for workshop discussion. So our current space that we're at is that November through January, we're working on the administrative draft. We're having the workshop with you today, and then we'll take this forward to the Board of County Commissioners also for a workshop. So again, we're just discussing this draft at this juncture. We hope to move that forward in the spring into a transmittal draft of the comprehensive plan amendment, and then ultimately adoption sometime mid-year. So looking back in time, back in 2022, this was started with public workshops and stakeholder meetings. A number of different meetings were held with stakeholders and neighborhoods in the area. Some of the comment that was received was that many parcels were already permitted or under construction. There were some environmental concerns discussed at those meetings. There was an opportunity for and preferred development of housing, retail, restaurants, and entertainment uses. So really looking at some of that commercial and residential development, opportunity for incorporation of active recreation infrastructure, and opportunity for a variety of housing types. So not just single family, but multifamily, townhomes, et cetera. It was discussed that transportation, alternative transportation modes were needed in the area, and traffic and pedestrian safety was also discussed. So some of those access management, access control issues that we were just talking about are also applicable to this corridor. And then noise and buffering requirements, particularly for adjacent residential neighborhoods that are already developed. So this moved into workshops with the Planning and Development Commission and Board of County Commissioners in 2023. At those meetings, it was discussed that there should be potentially adjustments to the employment center boundary. We're calling that in the iteration that we have before you today, the economic development target areas. So keeping with the themes of the IMA, having an EDTA where non-residential development is more focused. Considering adjustments to the mixed-use housing intensity and density, adjustments to lower the building height and increase setback requirements and buffering, reducing the building heights, bringing those down, and then talking about landscaping, buffering, et cetera. And then really vesting language. You know, how can the county ensure that the development is out there that wishes to stay as it is, continue as it is, while providing opportunities for projects to come in to increase economic opportunity. And then again, transparency and public input opportunities as well. So that was the activity that occurred in 2022 through 2023. And then this year, we started with some draft material, and county staff shared that with stakeholders as well. The recent input that we've received from county staff and also from stakeholders was that really there was a need to look at the parcels that were out there in 486. This is a little bit different area from Cardinal, which is more rural in character, State Road 44 more developing, and now County Road 486 has some different elements to it. The need to really prohibit new residential uses in the EDTA if we are designating an EDTA. And then including policies regarding compatibility with existing residential uses in those areas, clarifying the relationships of minimum and maximum densities to the PUD approval process, and then increasing the maximum density in the mixed-use sub-area. So one of the comments we received, we had originally proposed 8 dwelling units per acre. Now we're proposing 12 dwelling units per acre. And then also, as I've mentioned many times, you know, really looking at the buffering requirements for incompatible uses. How can we mitigate that concern? All right, so the draft administrative draft that you have before you for the comprehensive plan amendment, I'm going to go policy by policy to give you an overview of how we landed on the policies that are in this draft. One is we looked back at the focus growth scenario from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council study. What was the focus growth scenario? What did it describe? So we looked at that as really our launching and starting point before we did anything else. That focus growth scenario really focuses on compact and nonlinear patterns of development. So instead of going parcel by parcel, how can you aggregate parcels to create a cohesive project, essentially? Looking at the mixed use element, residential and and non-residential land uses and proximity, economic development opportunities. That was really the focus growth scenario and what it was looking at. So then we looked at the boundary of County Road 46, the IMA interchange management area. Unlike the other interchange management areas, this really didn't have a boundary before this project started. The other ones had been in discussion for years. This really didn't have a boundary, so what would that look like? And then looking at two sub-areas, so an economic development target area, or EDTA, and then a mixed-use sub-area. So keeping in the IMA format of having a concentrated non-residential area, and then an area that expands out into some more residential uses. So this is the boundary that we have for the administrative draft today. So this is what it looks like. So the area in turquoise or blue, however it looks on your screen, that's the economic development target area proposed. And then the mixed use area is the area within the red boundary that is not blue. So that's how it's being proposed currently. So just to orient you, the center there between the northernmost red boundary and the southernmost red boundary is County Road 46. The dark black line that's going through there is the alignment of the Suncoast Parkway extension. So that's where that goes through the EDTA. The areas that are hatched, it's a hatch mark gradient there, that is FDOT acquired properties. So you can see in the EDTA quite a bit of the property is already acquired by FDOT and was part of that construction of the Suncoast Parkway corridor. So this is a map showing the existing land uses that are out there today. So this is what's currently out there. This is not a future land use. Oh, sorry, bumped it. So this is not a future land use map. This is existing conditions of what's out there. You can see the majority of the commercial development that's out there is currently concentrated on the east side of the proposed IMA boundary. And then as you move from east to west, you move through a mix of uses essentially that's out there currently, residential, agricultural, towards industrial, the LKQ property there, you can see in a hatched gray pattern, that's industrial. And then the blue parcels that are adjacent to the Suncoast Parkway, those are the FDOT acquired properties associated with that development. And then moving to the west, the utility corridor that's through there where the power lines run. So this is just another version of that same map. So this is showing the land uses that are out there. This is future land uses. And then giving you some information about the existing land uses out there. So the EDTA is about shown in that map, is about 105 parcels or about 720 acres. About 36 parcels are vacant. The total is about 265 acres. And then the developed parcels are about 68, and that's about 444 or so acres. There is some single-family residential in that mix that's developed. There are about 23 parcels. The majority of those single-family residential parcels are to the south of that EDTA boundary. And 40 of the parcels in the EDTA are FDOT acquired. In the mixed use area, it's about 837 acres. There's about 67 parcels that are vacant. That totals about 660 acres. It also includes several large agricultural properties. There's about 5 totaling 237 acres. And then out of that mixed use area, there are about 53 parcels that are already developed, totaling about 177 acres. And then there's about 21 parcels of single family residential that's developed within that mixed use area. So this is the future land use map shown. So this is the future land use designations that are out there currently according to the Citrus County future land use map. So you can see the distribution of those. Again, commercial future land uses are on the east side of the proposed boundary. As you move from east to west, you go through quite a bit of residential future land uses into industrial future land uses. You can see the LKQ property, and then the Parkway. And then that area to the south of the Parkway there, that's a dark brown color, that's medium density residential. And then going further over, there's some institutional properties, governmental owned lands as well in there. So this is a breakout of future land uses by percentage in the EDTA and the mixed use, just showing you the percentage of future land uses that are out there currently under the current comprehensive plan future land use map. And then, so we looked at that land and the breakdown of the land that's out there, and then we started putting some policies together based on development pattern, both existing and then thinking about the future and how assembly could occur. So we looked at triggers for implementation. So newly proposed for non-residential or mixed use, that would be one of the triggers. So if it's new development coming in to be non-residential or mixed use, it would trigger implementation of the district. So expansion of non-residential development that exceeds 25% of the threshold or change of occupancy. So this was another consideration. That's 25% of the leasable gross area or change of occupancy. And then expansion of residential development that exceeds the permitted number of units that are already there. So those would be the triggers for implementation. Existing PUDs would be exempted unless the threshold is exceeded. Then any change to those PUDs must be consistent.
Amanda, if we could stop, I know this is a workshop, so I wanted to go over some of this as we go, if that's okay, because there's just so much. So right now with the implementation, you can see what's proposed there. You can see Mr. Stilwell's comment about we should exempt government, YMCA, and expansion of existing uses. I don't think we can really say YMCA only or whatever, but this is a trigger of 25% threshold. That's our current trigger for non-residential site standards. If you have a commercial building and you want to bring it up and you add 25% or more, you trigger the non-res standards. So get your feedback on these comments right here. And also the 8-acre with the option of 5-acre minimums. That's something unique to this particular IMA. So what's your comments? That's what we're here for today, is to talk about all these. And I think, I'm sorry to break you up in your presentation, but I think it's probably easier if we do it in bite-sized chunks because it's a workshop.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Shara.
Can you provide some clarification? Trigger for implementation. Are we talking about new applications that change the characteristic of what's there now and then triggers a change that falls in this under 1739-3-5?
Yes, so it'd be trigger. So essentially, this is the comprehensive plan policy, and what it would be setting up is trigger for implementation of that particular future land use category, as well as the corresponding zoning district once that is developed later at the land development code stage. So any development that would trigger this particular future land use category would then have to proceed through a future land use amendment and essentially an atlas amendment for the zoning.
When you say trigger, does it refer to trigger? Does that mean that the mixed use and EDTA would then be implemented if one of these occurs?
Correct, yes, if it triggers one of these. And it doesn't fall within the vesting standards that are in there, which are to be discussed as well. But essentially, property that's out there that doesn't meet one of these criteria could continue as it is currently with no change and would not be required to go through a comprehensive plan amendment or an atlas amendment for a rezoning. So this would only be for development that triggers this category, and there's different things. So the trigger for implementation would be those 3 things that are listed there, which have to do with the use, really, a change in the use or a change in the density in terms of the residential, or it would have to meet the minimum project size in order for that to apply.
So if an applicant would come forward, and let's just look at the map several pages earlier, the mixed, breaks it down by future land use, and would propose a use that would exceed the thresholds that you've identified, that would then trigger this entire interchange management area to be implemented?
Not the whole, just for that individual property owner. So the individual property owner that has a development that comes in that would trigger one of these things, then it would make this future land use category and the associated zoning apply to that particular property, and they'd have to go through a comp plan amendment and a rezoning to do the development that they're looking to do.
That would be, that steps procedurally. This is for the comp plan amendment.
Right, correct.
So the comp plan amendment will be done, and then in some future date, the LDC would be, amended as we've done here today with the other.
Yes.
Just if I could, Who drew the map and why the lines where they are?
So the map dates back to 2022, 2023 when those original meetings were being held. And I'll go back to the map just so we know what we're talking about. There we go. So this map originally started back in 2022 or 2023 and was developed. And since then, when we started working on this again in 2025, we've revised the EDTA boundary slightly. In this area, before the EDTA boundary, so that the external boundary, the red boundary, hasn't changed since those original workshops back, concluding I think in 2023 was the last time they were held. But the exterior boundary has not changed. The interior EDTA boundary has been altered slightly to pick up or exclude certain parcels based on the development that's out there today, and also to provide more connection to some of the non-residential and industrial uses that are in there.
Just by example, I'm not proposing anything, obviously. If a developer came forward with an application, had acquired some land south of the red line adjacent to Lecanto Road, that would then, with the way this map is drawn, that would then procedurally proceed through the appropriate LDC.
If they're looking to do development, that would meet one of those triggering criteria. If they've acquired the property and they're intending to use it in the exact same way it is currently, and they're not triggering any of those criteria, then they could continue the use. But if they trigger one of those criteria, then they would have to come in.
I think you're asking about something outside of the EDTA
if it's
proposed.
outside the-
Yeah, that would follow normal
Adjacent to, but
normal
outside.
land development procedures. This is actually an additional, it's a kind of a step in for commercial development related to the parkway for these areas, but if you're outside of it, normal LDC procedures will apply.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, that's
I didn't
okay.
catch
No,
that.
that's fine.
Just-
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want-
Commissioner Collins.
Thank you. Just going back to the conversation on the 25% threshold and Mr. Stillwell's concern regarding things like the YMCA. I have a question. Is the YMCA, is that a PUD right now, that property?
I can't remember, Joe, is it? I think it is.
I think the
Yeah.
YMCA is a PUD.
It is a PUD because it was part of Pine Ridge. Thank you. Yes, we had to
Yeah.
amend the Pine Ridge PUD to make it a YMCA use, so yes.
So I noticed that there is, under policy 17.39.3, where it speaks to this circumstance, it talks about however, for existing PUDs, they can continue, but then it does say that if there's a change to an existing PUD that meets the thresholds for the implementation of the 486 IMA, then they would have to be consistent with the 486. Is that, so I don't know if that PUD actually outlined how much.
It's vague. It's a YMCA, and then next to it, it's 1 acre residential lots, very vague. It's meant to, you got a PUD, you got a PUD. You can continue wherever, but if you're going to
Right.
amend the PUD, not only do you have to meet the PUD standards, but you're going to have to
I
meet
have to
these
meet
extra
this.
IMA standards, right?
Okay, because I could see it being questioned if you already had a PUD, because the PUD gives you certain entitlement, provided that you're consistent and you continue to follow it in accordance with the PUD. So I could see the question there. I know everywhere else, I would totally agree with this. I mean, if you always do the same thing, you're always going to get the same thing. So there's a point where, yeah, you want to start getting people to, okay, this is what you have to do. But I was just curious about that. If that's a PUD, I kind of see then.
It is. It's a very vague one, now that I recall it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the language was written like that because, as you guys know, we've had a lot of PUDs go forward recently for projects within this area.
Yeah.
And so what this is saying is, oh, okay, well, Target, Amber Ridge, 46, those PUDs, they're starting to develop. This isn't going to change them at all. However, if they decide they want to change that existing PUD in a manner that trips this threshold, then they now have to come into to these standards.
I can
So-
see if it's a change of use or, I don't know. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about
Right.
that one.
So for, like, if Amber Ridge wanted to increase their residential density out there, then they would have to come under the current standards, whereas right now they could subdivide and plat as their existing PUD is right now.
Thank
Could you help out for the dumb guy in the room? I don't understand how to apply the second bullet. Expansion of non-residential development exceeds 25% threshold or change of occupancy. What do you really do that? What does
So
that mean?
we have that in the code right now. So in other words, if you had a business and your business was, I'm just going to throw numbers out there, if it was 2,000 square foot retail, and you came in, you're like, man, I really need some more space. I'm going to add another 1,000 square feet to my business. That trips a threshold that you now have to bring your business up to current land development code standards. That's already in the LDC. We are implementing that right now. So what this is saying is that if you have this business and it's existing in the IMA, and same scenario, you got a 2,000 square foot retail business, you want to add 1,000 square feet to it, you now have to bring your business up to the current LDC standards, which is the new IMA standards. So
And if you have a PUD at this point,
now if you had a PUD and an approved PUD, you can continue to develop in accordance with that approved PUD.
so the PUD would prevail, even
Right.
though, but for the PUD, you would be obligated then to comply with the IMA standards.
Right, but if you had an
I don't
approved
know if that's a
PUD,
realistic situation, but just
yeah,
some clarification.
if you had an approved PUD and you decided that you needed additional entitlements to that PUD, then you would have to come into this standard. So whether you have a, it's whenever you're increasing what you already have approval of.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
You're not the dumb guy in the room. You're good.
From time to time.
Yes, I feel like that.
So do we have a conclusion on what we want to do with this request from,
I just want to comment on the implementation. Yeah, we just wanted comments. We're just taking comments, no votes today.
Okay.
We can, but we're not actually adopting anything today. The 8-acre minimum project side, but they can do 5 acres if they do ISR reduction and increase open space. Do you have any comments on that idea? I mean, they do allow aggregation, meaning you can combine lots even across local roads. So most of the lots out there, I think you saw, were already.
The average lot size is about 6.9 acres in that red boundary is the average lot size, but the lot sizes range from, less than an acre all the way up to hundreds of acres. So there's quite a diversity in there. A lot of the lots that are residential, they look, if I go back to the map, that would help you visually. Let me see here. So you can see a lot of the existing developed residential, which is the darker yellow. The lighter yellow is vacant residential. You can see the small rectangles there. A lot of those range from about 4 acres to 7 acres, maybe in that area. Those are the sizes of those that are out there. The intent of this, though, is to not limit by parcel size. We're really trying to encourage aggregation of projects. So a number of parcels could be assembled into a cohesive project as long as that project meets these size criteria. So we're proposing 8 as the minimum project size. However, a minimum project size of 5 acres could be accepted if they're meeting other criteria, as Joanne mentioned, an increase in open space, reduction in impervious surface, other criteria. We do also have an allowance in here for smaller projects if they're approved through the PUD process and the development still meets the development and size standards within the overall 486 IMA flume category. So there is an option, even if it doesn't meet the 5, for them to go through a process to go down to a smaller project size. But we're really trying to encourage 8-acre projects, 5-acre projects allowed if certain criteria are met, and then smaller would go through a more detailed scrutiny through the PUD.
So if we compared this to 44, even Cardinal,
Yeah.
as we're, progression of thought over time.
Yeah.
How does this differ from 44?
So 44 was 5 acres. So we did minimum project size of 5 acres and 44, just because of so out there in that area in terms of the average parcel size and how the configuration of the properties were out there, the 5 acres made more sense in the 44 area. This area has a lot more diversity of parcel sizes and a lot more basically opportunities for assemblage of smaller parcels together. So we were trying to encourage some of the larger aggregation here, particularly as you can see there's some parcels in here that are quite large in terms of agricultural or undeveloped properties that are out there, and also the commercial areas that are out there are large as well. So we went up to a larger size. For Cardinal, some of the standards for the minimum property sizes in Cardinal are more similar to this. So,
I just want to remind you, this is a workshop, so y'all going to see this again. I can see
Yeah.
all the brains turning and
Yeah.
stuff, and you might go home and think about it and think, oh, wait, and you'll have your chance. This will come back before you as an ordinance. But we just wanted to get some input on this basic stuff. And I'm sorry I did interrupt your presentation.
Oh, you're
so
But much of the, if I could, much of the ETDA is owned by FDOT.
It
least-
is,
at
or
least on the western
LKQ.
side.
They have, between the two of them, they probably have at least half of it. So yeah, you're right.
Now, does
Yeah.
FDOT ever transact on its properties, or do they hold
Absolutely,
it?
they do, yeah. So,
whoops, sorry everyone.
yeah, we're finding
Try to get
that.
back in.
They purchase them and then sell them off or sell off pieces. So unless the parkway's in it or a big DRA's in it, you're pretty much assured those are going to stay, or the trail with the bike medians. But I can't guarantee that it's owned by FDOT. It'll stay
I was
owned by FDOT.
just a general question. Do they have a history of transacting and then?
They do. Swift might as well. Yeah, there's no permanence here.
Joanna, remind me on MDR, what is the maximum density with a PUD? I can't remember.
With a PUD, I want to say
8.
I was thinking
Okay, because this would
4 to
bring
8. Yes.
20
yeah.
if you've got the land mass, and actually, I think this area is really ideal for multifamily.
It is, and so they can go up to 20, which is our highest density in
That's the HDR, I think. Allowed.
yeah, HDR is the highest, but also we have the live local, and 20 is our highest density in the LDC and the comp plan.
And does this propose to allow residential?
Yes.
New residential in ETDA?
Not in the EDTA, and the mixed use residential
The
would be
mixed use
allowed.
only. Okay, that
So,
makes sense.
so the EDTA, let me move forward here to clarify this. So just before we move on to the density discussion, were there any other comments regarding either the threshold trigger or the project size?
Well, we haven't done anything with
Okay.
this memo here.
We kind of did a little bit. He wanted to exempt out government, YMCA, and expansion of existing uses. Well, we already do the expansion of existing uses for 25%. I don't think the YMCA should have their own little cutout. They're
Agree.
a PUD anyway. And government, I'm hesitant to exempt a government use. We don't have any government buildings right there anyway, but I'm kind of hesitant on that one. I'm not sure that's justified.
It doesn't government, if, say, the county, the state, or some other entity would come in, are they treated separately from?
So, some zoning categories do allow government uses, but generally we have to comply with our own regulations. So
Thank you for clarifying that, Joanna.
it's sadly it has to say it's said.
No, it makes sense, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay.
You can,
All right, we'll move on. So the next section, policy 17.39, 6 through 7, really describes the intent and uses. And just to go to clarification, because I think one of the questions that was brought up was about the residential and where that was allowed. So permitted uses in the EDTA, this is just specific to the EDTA, which is that blue area, would be job-producing industrial and manufacturing, light industrial, professional offices, including technology, truck stops, bus terminals and vehicle repair, warehousing, distribution, and logistics, outdoor storage, LKQ is an example of that that's out there today, utilities, and trail access. The prohibited uses would be residential of any density, so no new residential, I should say. So existing residential that's out there can stay there so long as they're not triggering any of those criteria. And then cement and asphalt and batch plants would be prohibited. Extractive uses like mining and mini warehouse or self-storage would be prohibited in the EDTA. Any comments on this menu of uses? Yeah.
Commissioner Roseman.
Just a suggestion, the word cement is misleading.
Okay.
Cement is the powder that holds the concrete together. You might want to change that to concrete batch plant if that is the intent.
Okay. Yes. Yes, it is. So concrete. Okay. Thank you.
So just a quick question. We're going to allow truck stops in this area, but we wouldn't allow truck stops at 44 or Cardinal?
So So at this one, I think there was discussion of allowing for that just because of the configuration here. At Cardinal and 44, it was allowing for some of your larger truck stops with convenience stores and gas stations, but not necessarily repair of those trucks at those locations. So this would allow a little more intensive. This is looking at a little more intensive activity in terms of some of the uses that are out there in terms of industrial. Yeah.
The vehicle repair would still consider a truck, right? It's a vehicle. So you can have repair for semis.
Under how it's written here,
One
yes.
of the
We can do it
commissioners
here,
was
but-
very verbal here that they wanted it here and did not think it was appropriate at Cardinal. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that big argument or
So-
discussion. I mean,
You know, in reality, this is the dead center of the county. This is the flagship stop of the county. 20 years from now, do you want truck stops in the dead center of your county when you?
I know, I feel the same way because these are your higher density areas. And you're considering now day-to-day operations of people driving back and forth to work mixed now with trucks, big trucks coming in the truck spot. So
Well, you got that, yeah.
in my opinion, Cardinal would have been the better. It's a little lower density. I don't know, as this moves north, I could see maybe further up north. Also, I'm just trying to think when you go south out of our county, like where the next truck stops are. I'm trying to think. I know, where they are on I-75, but
So we can, as we move forward, we certainly can say that the PDC did not support truck stops in this location. I mean, we're not adopting anything yet, but that's up to you. It's the commissioners that seem to feel differently. Remembering LKQ was already here. It's a pretty intense use. We do have the Malin mine just off-site. So there are some intense uses here, but understood. Y'all can go forward with whatever you're thinking. It sounds like probably more leaning against the truck stop idea, but
Okay.
I think the bus terminal would
LKQ's not repairing vehicles, though. They're disassembling them.
it probably just brings in.
right, well, they have to bring them in with it,
Right.
yeah.
Gotcha.
They were approved, so.
I think you should prohibit truck stops because that whole development area was bitterly contested by Pine Ridge. And a truck stop with its noise and its lights, even if it's some distance away, I'm sure they would fight it again. So if you want to move ahead with the rest of the development, I think you would stay away with anything that's going to twist that tail with those people.
So we can write the ordinance that way, but understand that the commissioners may or may not agree. and-
Sure, this is discussion.
Absolutely.
But again, it goes back to your strategy, what we had talked about with Cardinal. What is the vision of the strategy? The vision first, then the strategy, and then the execution, implementation plan for this particular location. And so what is the view? And I know I'd attended a couple meetings where there were public forums. What would you like to see in this area? I remember they did that at the YMCA. I don't know whatever happened to that.
It's incorporated into their, into these uses, with the exception of, we did add some comments received by commissioner workshops.
But I can tell you, in those meetings, they didn't present light industrial, my recollection, subject to failure. They didn't present manufacturing. They presented what looked like much more of an office park, mixed-use residential, commercial type of feel to that particular area. If you, again, we talk about warehousing, distribution, logistics, which would make a lot of sense from on and off point for trucks getting on and off at least the Suncoast, not 75 necessarily. It comes back to what is the vision for this particular area? And maybe it's easier to say what we don't want than what we want in some cases.
Yeah. See, I think when the Suncoast finally makes it out to 19, I think that would be like the ideal location, really, for your truck stop. At some point, you've got 19, it's already moves your large, movement of goods, and then this. But right here, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
So what we're looking for is that kind of feedback.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to basically say the same thing for the same reason.
Okay.
You've got lower density up in that area, closer to 19. You've got infrastructure that will support that kind of traffic with the Suncoast and onto 19. Now, if these trucks peel off onto other Dunellen Road or these other roads, but it does make more sense to push it further north.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's,
understood. Yep, thank you.
And then my other question would be, what's the difference between outdoor storage and self-service storage? One's prohibited, one's permitted.
Yeah, outdoor storage is essentially what LKQ looks like today. Equipment's materials are stored outdoors. Mini warehouse or self-service storage are usually interior or air-conditioned spaces, and those are the small mini. Trying to think of an example brand, but basically a where you would have a storage unit, a personal one for personal use.
So we can bring in the storage containers like on 19 and throw here in this use.
we don't even allow those in the county.
Well, I
so that
mean,
would
we
be
do,
no.
they're there.
Yeah, well, they're not permitted. So, outdoor storage, I think, is what you're trying to say, is the RV and boat parking storage. Y'all have seen over and over in PUDs. Those don't belong in the EDTA. I mean, they do belong in the, no, do belong
I
in the
just-
EDTA, but not belong in sorry.
The word outdoors, if you're gonna have RV, boat parking is different than outdoor storage, 'cause outdoors,
We're seeing some with covers.
Yeah.
So that kind of mixes the issue. Okay, so what do you think? RV and boat parking facilities and many warehouses in the EDTA or yay? Yay or nay?
nay,
Nay.
I don't think so.
So
But
So outdoor storage also removed.
you can go a half a mile to get all the storage you want.
right. I mean, if it's a accessory like LKQ has the outdoor storage related to their industrial use, I can see that. But this is simply, I think the intent was RV boat parking type facilities and, okay.
It's not that they're not well-run professional organizations. That really doesn't
Understood.
enter into it. It is what do you want in that mile or 2 miles in a dead heart of your county, and what are you going to attract there?
I was going to say, would it be better to have outdoor storage in association with something else, maybe, instead of just saying outdoor storage?
Yeah, so how it's written, I know the slide's a little bit misleading. So on policy 17.39.7, the actual language in the proposed administrative draft, LDC, is written uses requiring outdoor storage. So it would be outdoor storage ancillary to another use is how it's currently written in the draft.
Could we maybe add that word ancillary? That makes, because uses to me kind of more ambiguous.
So if you had a logistics or a warehousing location, and you would have to store your vehicles on the site for a period of time, overnight or days, that would be an ancillary use.
So typically,
asking
I would, so I'm thinking of that specific example. Vehicles associated with your particular business may not necessarily be storage per se. This would probably be more storage of materials, products, et cetera, related to
Raw
that
materials
particular.
that go into a
Yeah, like for example, if woodworking or something like that, and you have stored lumber outside adjacent to your building that you're working on.
So on the prohibited uses, instead of just mini warehouse self-service storage, we'd also add RV and boat parking, which is basically the catch-all for that. That would be under the prohibited for EDTA. And the permitted uses, it would say outdoor storage ancillary to the uses listed here, or to permitted uses.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense. You have,
or permitted uses with the required outdoor storage to support the process.
yeah, however you want to, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's exactly the kind of input that we need. So okay.
Very good group.
Yep. All right. So that was the EDTA. Thank you for your input regarding that one. So we're going to move on to the mixed use area. So right now we're proposing the following. So for permitted uses, it would be medium to high density residential, neighborhood and general commercial, hotel and travel accommodations, professional offices, institutional and civic, and I will say institutional would include things like the YMCA. Civic would be community centers, things like that. Government offices and facilities, parks, recreation, and trails. So those would be the proposed permitted uses. And then for prohibited uses in the mixed use area, it would be low density residential, less than 6 dwelling units per acre, industrial and manufacturing. Cement, will change that to concrete. So concrete, asphalt, batch plants, metal recycling junkyards, extractive uses, truck stops, bus terminals, and vehicle repair, mini warehouse or self-service storage, outdoor storage, which we just talked about, car wash facilities, and outdoor kennels.
And I think they would add RV and boat parking facilities specifically, because you could argue, but I think those are gonna already call into that.
Is this mixed-use area the same thing that was in our map, our colored map with the?
Yeah, so,
There's two of them.
I know that, yeah, that one.
yeah,
No.
so this is the mixed use that's highlighted here as the area that's not blue within the red boundary.
Right, okay, so if you go down to the next aerial view of the thing, the yellow, no, not next one after that, this shows that big, there. Mixed-use yellow up there against, on the north side of the
Norville.
highway,
47.
shows that that's low-density residential. Is that,
So the yellow area of future land use map currently, the yellow area on the north side of County Road 46 is on the map residential mixed use is what it's currently showing as.
It's part of the Pine Ridge, that's Pine Ridge.
Right.
So they have an area there that's 1 acre lots, and an area there for the Y, and an area there for a future school. So those would be allowed here, all of those uses. The low density residential, because they have an existing PUD, it would already rule. So we wouldn't force them to do 6 dwelling units an acre.
Would
Okay.
or would not?
Would not, because it's
Okay,
an
so
existing PUD. But if they amend the PUD, sure.
so that's the area north of the highway that's yellow and brown.
Yes, yellow. The brown is another PUD, several PUDs going all the way up.
Right, medium density, right. So that's medium density, but the yellow, well, on both sides of the highway is still low-density residential.
The north is actually our residential mixed use or planned development.
Correct.
The one to the south is low density residential.
Okay, and that would still stay.
Yeah, they can stay forever if they want to,
Unless your neighbor changed.
unless you changed, yeah.
Right, if you or your neighbor changed,
Right.
those triggers.
Right.
So what's in general commercial? I mean, that's kind of a,
Yeah, so let me go back down to.
So
All right, so general commercial is retail, commercial restaurants, et cetera. Gas stations would fall into this. Basically, any commercial activity. So if you think about the development that is already in that area, the mixed-use side of the area that's showing up as light pink or red in the future land use map, that's all being developed. The Target, Walmart, all of that falls in general commercial essentially, and some of the uses that are in there as well, restaurants, things like that.
some of the uses that are already developed would be prohibited as new uses there, such as car washes. We have several that are in the mixed use, and the mini warehouse behind Target, or in front of Target, that would also be prohibited new. It's already approved.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With these changes, it looks like there's a storage facility going in behind the steakhouse.
That's what he's talking
Oh,
about.
I missed it. But don't repeat it for me then, but
Yeah, it's
would it be
already
prohibited now?
It's already permitted now, but in the future, additional uses of that nature would not be allowed under this comp plan amendment, proposed comp plan amendment.
That's it for these uses? Y'all good so far? All right. Again, this is not your final bite of this apple, so.
All right. So now we get into the density intensity. This is a policy 17.39 through 8 through 15. We're proposing non-residential intensity of floor area ratio of 1.0. It could be increased to 1.5 if they're providing residential as part of the projects. In the EDTA, there would be no new residential uses allowed. Again, existing residential uses, as long as they're not triggering one of those criteria, those residential uses could stay. However, we're not permitting new ones essentially in the EDTA. The mixed use, if approved by PUD, would be a minimum density of 6 dwelling units per acre, a maximum density of 12 dwelling units per acre, and then they could get a density bonus up to 20. This is the same density bonus that has been proposed in the other IMAs if the criteria is met for public facilities and amenities that would benefit the community. The mix of uses, non-residential must be mixed with residential. Residential may be standalone or mixed with non-residential. So you could do a standalone residential development or mix that residential development with non-residential. But how it's currently proposed in here, if you're doing a non-residential development, there must be some component of residential to it. And that's what's currently proposed here. The mixed-use functional integration would be that residential be located above or behind the non-residential as part of the project, and then pedestrian connectivity must be provided. So open space, public spaces, et cetera. And then we're really trying to promote with this requirement, the reason why we're requiring non-residential be mixed with residential is we're trying to promote workforce and senior housing in this area because it's so proximate to commercial and amenities and things like that.
So this is the first IMA that forces the mix. It's up to, it's up to them to adopt it, up to y'all to consider that. We don't normally force the mix, but we also have heard from the commissioners, okay, great, we have all this development, now who's gonna work there? And where are they gonna live? And that's why the apartments behind, they were excited about those. They're still very, very early in platting. I don't know when they're gonna take off, but that's what this is coming from. It's unusual. The other two IMAs don't force it. This would force it. So I'm looking for your feedback on that as well.
Well, your maximum 20 acres or 20 dwelling units per acre, what's the criteria met? Is there an explanation for that?
The criteria for that is the provision of public amenities, public spaces. I can read what those are. So the criteria would be the inclusion of gathering areas, parks, schools, libraries, or other community facilities or amenities that are integrated into the project and provide a sense of place and focal point for the community. The developer, property owners association, homeowners association, or other similar private entities shall be responsible for the operation and maintenance of such integrated gathering areas or community facilities or amenities.
Can we refer on this page, for example, to that without just having to say if criteria is met?
Yes, it's written under policy 17.39.10, but we'll add that to the slide so it's clear here for future
I'm that
presentation.
dumb GC that comes in here and don't read the criteria met and then waste 3 weeks of my life without researching it. And Joanna's laughing.
Yeah, we'll add it to the slide for future presentations. Yeah.
Some of this will transfer into the LDC, so.
Yeah, some of this is, but the comp plan, this is a guidance, it has, the comp plan is the thing you can't change. You absolutely have to meet it even regardless of your PUD, so.
Yeah, I think this is the ideal area to test the higher density. I mean, it's gonna be market-driven regardless. And if you got a good developer that wants to do a good mixed use with the apartments behind it, it should work. So in my opinion, I think this is good.
Yep.
The only thing I would say, like, we're talking about all this high-density residential, but then we're wanting to omit storage facilities. I don't really understand the correlation with all of that. Like, I don't know why storage facilities get such a bad rap. Like, I feel like storage facilities, we can't have they didn't want the storage facility that's actually being built there, and now it's being built there. It's not an ugly storage facility. It's a necessary requirement, and for Florida, for people that live in Florida, it's just, especially with high density residential, you're not going to have garages. You're going to have apartment living. People own stuff. It's just the way it is. So I don't know that I agree completely with the whole prohibit storage facilities. I understand the reasoning behind the way some of them look. The typical self-storage units where it's metal facade buildings and they're all in a row, but when you have like a nice storage facility that looks like the one they're building as an example behind the Texas Roadhouse, I mean that's needed. And here we are, we're trying to dump all this high density residential over in there, and we're going to say, well, you can't store anything here. I don't like it.
10 miles down the road, store your stuff, right?
I agree. I think I agree with that. Are we picking winners and losers by doing this? I don't know, but it could make sense, like Commissioner Bramlett said. where you have a high-density residential area. And don't forget, you've got other residential areas in the area. You've got Black Diamond, you've got Citrus Hills, you've got what's going to happen here. People got to store their stuff, their boats, because you can't store a boat or in some of these developments. So that's probably a good point, David.
Yeah, it's the same with we said no outdoor storage. Like, I don't know why outdoor storage gets a bad rap either. Some of these outdoor storage facilities look really nice. You know, of course, it looks nicer than what LKQ has sitting there, I can promise you that, with a nice covered pavilion and some nice boats and RVs covered. I mean, people own things, you know, but we want to create all of this and send everyone there. You should just provide all of the services that it's going to need to facilitate those people.
Unfortunately, I've got to cut out.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. All right, we didn't take a break. You guys had a couple weeks off, though, but we're
I
almost done.
agree with Commissioner Bramlett. As our county evolves, and it is evolving rapidly, the need exists and will continue to grow for the types of housing that has not been traditional, the traditional Mayberry housing that we've seen in Citrus County. I have a family member who's recently going through some, life-altering, changing times, and that person needed a place for quality housing, although not long-term, but maybe for a couple of years. Storage units, all the things we're talking about. And historically, when storage units have come before this board or county commissions, they've been turned down, or at least faced with a room full of passionate people in this room and the county commission chambers as well. And the same thing for higher density residential units. If it's not here, where's it going to be? And I'm not suggesting it's here. I'm not suggesting this is the right place, but that's something that needs to be on our radar screens as planners, and hopefully the county commission would see that as well. So all these things are not bad things. They need to be in the right place, I agree. But we have a proposed very large medical facility coming here. We haven't seen the influx of medical professionals yet, but it's not going to be long. They're going to be here. And the hospital has already said we're going to bring in the healthcare professionals first, then build the hospital. So they're not here, but they're coming. And that's just an example of why we need to think of not the traditional 2,500 square foot home as the norm in Citrus County. Thank you for indulging me.
No, good points. So we'll put that up for a vote when we can bring the ordinance forward as those specific uses in both the EDTA and the mixed use, and we can go forward with whatever y'all recommend on those. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So development and infrastructure, just to go over, this is policy 17.39, number 16 through 23. We put in policies regarding enhanced standards in the LDC for transportation, landscaping, buffering, circulation, subdivision, regulations, signage, and lighting. Essentially, this is setting the stage for those land development code standards like you just saw in Cardinal Street, but the standards that would be applicable to County Road 486. So we have policies in there for that. We have policies regarding the minimization of visual impacts, particularly to adjacent residential properties, but also providing some visual buffering between County Road 486 and the Suncoast Parkway to uses within the IMA. We also put in policies regarding interconnected circulation systems, both vehicular and pedestrian, traffic safety, highway beautification, access control, coordinated and shared infrastructure, and stormwater management. So similar to what we discussed for Cardinal, talking about requiring utilities, water, sewer, et cetera, from development coming in. And then we have that policy language in there regarding the encouragement of gray water. So given the discussion that we just had about Cardinal, we'll revisit that as well based on some of the feedback that we received today regarding gray water. Any other comments regarding this suite of policies, 16 through 23? Okay. All right. And then that was it. So we discussed each policy that was in there. Does anybody have anything else to add regarding County Road 46 as we develop this draft further?
I just have one question that I need to. I feel like there were like 4 or 5 undeveloped residential parcels inside the EDTA based on my analysis of counting. So we're going to tell those people that they own that property, it's a residential property, but now you can't put a house on it.
They can continue to use that property as it's currently zoned, unless they decide to improve that property in a way that triggers one of those triggering
I
criteria.
think he's reading the no new residential to make it sound like you
I
can't
see
do
what you're
a
saying.
residential home.
Oh, no,
Probably
no,
need to
no.
reword that a little
Okay.
bit. What's meaning is no new residential zoned property. If you've got a residential house zoned, it's vacant, you can put a house there forever.
Okay.
That wasn't the intent.
Yeah.
So the no new residential was mean you can't convert commercial to residential, but we need to fix that.
Right.
Joanne
Okay.
is correct,
Cool.
yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't put a house there now. You didn't get it in time. No, that'd be bad.
Right.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
I told him you guys were good. Good, very, very, very helpful comments. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Amanda.
everyone.
And I know
Thank
we're
you.
running long. I have one more application. Can we do one more and then we're done? Yes?
Can we take a 10-minute break?
Yeah, if you want to.
So moved.
I know half of them already did,
I
but
know, I've noticed everybody walking out. I'm like, you sure you need one? But one more application, then we're done.
we'll take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back at 11:12.
Don't start now.
I don't want to see it.
Listen, you live it, you don't have to watch it.
That's true. Even the mic's working.
Mike's working.
Amazing.
Actually, what I'm getting ready to do.
Looks like it's recording still.
Okay. If he said 13, you gotta wait till 13.
All right. Yes, we're good.
You have unlimited power. You just don't realize how powerful you really are.
It ends next month.
Mike's working.
All right, we'll try this again. Thank you. We're going to continue with the final steps of our workshop. At this time, I'm going to open the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation that you want to enter into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. It is now open, sir.
Good morning. My name's Joe Capicelli, and I just want to make a couple comments, like great comments being made about all this area, but I had an opportunity, obviously, to talk to the consultants just to express a couple of my concerns or comments, and I love the fact that you brought up storage, because I think something that really needs to be considered is you've got a huge area here of some industrial. And one of the best uses that can be put in this area, certainly the mixed use abutting the industrial, could be these multi-story storage facilities. And to exclude them, I believe, would be a huge mistake. These buildings look like hotels from a distance, and if they're done properly, it would provide a great buffer from the existing, junkyard that we have and that's vested out there. So that's something I think that needs to be considered. The other thing that I mentioned to them is the boundaries of themselves. 491 is our main spine for this county, and to limit these additional conditions or standards just on one side of the road. I know this is a 486 IMA, but you're going up 491 and you're going down 491 at this intersection. And I believe it should be looked at, and I don't know how many parcels would qualify, but you may as well pick up the east side of the road, because we're going to have a certain set of standards for one side of the road, but not the other side. And I just think that needs to be considered as well. And then one of the property owners just north of this area, I suggested that he attend, but he has property in front of the county building along 491, so it's just north of where the northern boundary is. And I guess there was some concerns or questions. How do additional property owners who may have interest in letting their property be part of the IMA, what the process would be for them to be considered to be included in this, this overall overlay? So those are my comments. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? And sir, if you could fill out a yellow paper at the podium and bring it up to our recording secretary, we greatly appreciate that. Anyone else? All right, with that, I will close the public portion of the workshop down. And thanks everyone for attending, and we can move on to our next application. It's going to be OA-2025-00003. It's for the medical marijuana centers.
All right, this is an application at the direction of the Board of County Commissioners. So just as a quick refresher, back in 2017, the Florida Legislature created medical marijuana treatment centers. This is not the place that says buy CBG gummies here or we sell hemp products. These are the formal treatment centers that you have to have a prescription, et cetera, from a doctor. So in 2017, the legislature said, okay, cities and counties, you have your choice. You either treat them exactly like you do pharmacies with no additional standards, or you completely outright ban them. Most places allowed them. It was very, very hard at that time to get the franchise to be able to do it. There was a limited number in each area. We didn't think we'd see many of these. Fast forward to 2025, there are now 8 of them in Citrus County. Only 2 of them are in the unincorporated area. The other 6 are in the 2 cities. So there are 8 licensed according to the state in the county. There is a statute that says they must be 500 feet from a public or private school. That's a statute that remains in place. It's echoed in our LDC. But what the commissioners have asked to consider is instead of allowing them wherever pharmacies are, to create a ban on them completely. This will not affect the 2 in the unincorporated areas. Those can continue to operate. They cannot move or expand, but they would be treated like a nonconformity. So that's it. The draft proposal in there would remove them from the various land use districts and instead outright ban those particular items in unincorporated Citrus County.
And this is just for the medical research and support?
It's medical marijuana treatment centers, so not research, but support. This is where you go to get your medical marijuana from your doctor. Dispensaries, yes. There's so many names. Thank you.
But aren't they the same according to our LDC? They're the medical research and support and medical marijuana as pharmacies. They all kind of go in the same.
They don't, because medical marijuana treatment centers and dispensaries are statute regulated. They're very, very specifically defined, whereas a research center and medical offices are different medical uses. So this would not outlaw like doctors, but this would outlaw new dispensaries, or the treatment centers is another name for them.
I've never been in any of them, but I'm just saying the dispensary is the prescription they bring in.
And get the medical
whatever they
marijuana,
want.
yes.
But there's dispensaries that are doing medical research on this. Is there a way to block that?
That's a different kind of, that's not a dispensary, that's a.
Well, they dispense the drugs there, or the prescription as well as.
If they're licensed as a dispensary to dispense the medical marijuana, that's what this would ban. So
Broward County is huge right now with that, and that's how they got over there. They did pretty much the same thing, banned them in majority of their county, and then they came in with this medical research and medical support programs into their facilities. So I just want to make sure that we don't get into the same trap that they're in right now.
yeah, I'll have to look at that. Which county would you say?
Broward.
Broward. I'll take a look at that. But basically, if they're licensed in any way from the state as a medical marijuana treatment center, this would ban them. So they couldn't just say, and we're also dispensing, but we're doing research at the same time. That wouldn't be allowed because you could not be a dispensary. But I'll take a look at what they're struggling with. Not familiar with that.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shara.
Joanna, this ordinance only applies to, this is a question. Does this ordinance only apply to unincorporated Citrus County?
Correct. So there are 2 in unincorporated Citrus County. This does not apply to the cities. They do their own rules.
And the state gave the counties the ability to adopt policies similar to a pharmacy or to prohibit in total.
Correct.
They can't piecemeal.
Can't piecemeal and say we want these only in certain places or so many, et cetera. Yes, they completely banned us from doing that.
Counties and cities.
Yeah, all jurisdictions.
Counties and cities. Okay.
Yes.
All jurisdictions.
Yeah. No questions other than that?
Well,
So what was it excuse me.
I was going to ask, the 2 that exist would be then vested non-conforming use,
They would be non-conforming uses, correct.
which would be there until they go out of business.
Correct, or they could not expand a nonconformity. They couldn't relocate somewhere else, but they could continue as they're operating, yes.
Commissioner Facemeyer.
When you began, you you cited the numbers. There's so many in the municipalities and 2 in the county.
Mm-hmm.
How many in the municipalities?
And I actually put the list in your packet as well.
I mean,
there's- No, that's fine. There's 6 outside of unincorporated Citrus County and 2 in, so 8 total in the county that I could find at the state license.
This is a proposal to ban anything new.
Anything new and unincorporated, yes.
I'm just curious what precipitated this.
The commissioner made a statement about concern about impacts to
Who made the statement?
one of the commissioners.
One of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And concern about general public and I think daycare centers and other uses like that.
What about them?
Just
What about the
concern about them being in proximity to medical marijuana treatment centers. That's the only elaboration I saw.
Right. Seems pretty vague. Why couldn't we just like add 500, 1,000 feet from public, private schools, daycares?
They completely abolish it. The statutes will not let us do that. We have to, if we do
So
that.
you
we
either have to
do it
allow them everywhere or nowhere.
everywhere a pharmacy is. So that was a discussion at the board about, well, if we do this, then we're saying, CVS can't go in either. And that's what we would do. We have to treat them exactly as we treat pharmacies.
But isn't this a pharmacy?
No, it's a very specific type of use for medical marijuana treatment. There's a whole nasty statute with long stuff that they have to follow. It is a type of pharmacy, but it's a medical marijuana treatment center that has a different licensing. And they can't also, by the way, prescribe Motrin or whatever. It's medical marijuana. Very
So these
restricted.
compounding medical services that make up Buterol and
Right.
all the other compounding stuff for the pharmacies.
Right, that's different. They could not do that in the medical marijuana treatment center, which is very specific. You can't do medical marijuana in those compound facilities, no. They're very, very specific license. There's rules about, you can see you can't look in the windows, for example. There's a lot of security involved, et cetera. But we either treat them just like we do all pharmacies, and that was a discussion at the board too. Well, Publix has a pharmacy, yeah, any pharmacy or not at all. Right now, we have them just like any pharmacy.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shara.
So the question would be, why is this coming to the PDC? I'm assuming it's because this would require a change to the LDC.
Yes, this is an ordinance amendment. You can see in the ordinance, we have to take it out of many of the land use districts and remove the section of our code that allows them like pharmacies.
I see. Thank you.
They are currently prohibited by state statute within 500 feet of a school. That's the only provision we're allowed to have if we keep them.
So we're really ultimately wanting to change the Florida statute 381.986.
Not changing the statute, we're choosing the other option. The statute gives us treat them like pharmacies or completely abolish them. We chose to treat them like pharmacies in 2017. Now we're considering completely abolishing them, the other option it gives us. And those are the only two options we have.
It feels kind of footloose to me. I don't like bans of, especially when you already allowed some in, and then like who's a stakeholder? Not saying anything like that, but it just feels like that to me. Okay, we're gonna just allow these in, but now we're closing it off.
Well, we have 8, but I understood.
It's just also an extremely growing population. The county is growing, the state is growing, so I don't know.
That's why we're having the hearing.
Conflicted.
Understood.
Commissioner Shara.
So similar to other votes we take, this is non-binding. It's literally a recommendation to the board.
It's a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Although they've instructed staff to prepare this, I don't know if they're going to adopt it or not. This is a recommendation to them. They also will have to consider the public hearing. They just said put it before them, and we'll see.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Facemeyer.
Yeah, still-
My mind's thinking. So.
I understand.
I'm sorry.
You can see the steam coming out.
I think this is a difficult decision for everyone here. I've never had a need to require the services of a medical marijuana physician, prescribing physician, or dispensary. I know people who do. They rely on that relief and that avenue as opposed to traditional pharmaceuticals. Right now, I'm coming down on keeping it the way it is. It's not an easy decision, and like I said, it's not that I can talk about it from experience because I can't. But I know people who rely on it, and I know people who could rely on it. So right now, I'm kind of leaning towards leaving it the way it is.
Okay, let's open it to the public and then we'll do our deliberations. But were there any more questions for me? No? Okay.
Okay, quit. Thank you. All right, the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations will have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation that you want to enter to the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone?
Okay.
All right, not seeing any, I'll close the public portion of the hearing down, bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Shara.
what I struggle with this is this appears to be a policy decision for the county. And we seem to be we're getting our cart before the horse a little bit in terms of changing the LDC. So I struggle with supporting this.
Commissioner Collins?
Mr. Chair, so when I was with the city of Crystal River, they went through this, and they ended up adopting the ordinance to not allow them further in the city of Crystal River. So yeah, the statute is very clear. You either treat it as a pharmacy, which means it could go anywhere as a pharmacy can be, or you say you're not going to allow them at all as a dispensary. The city at the time had 3 that were open, 1 that was under permit, which they could continue, and there was somebody that was looking to purchase a building, and they didn't buy it in time, so they didn't have any permits. And they felt for a city of that size, which was, about 3,400 people, that was enough dispensaries. It was a matter of perception. The last one that was being permitted was going on the corner of Citrus Avenue and 19. They felt, well, they're allowed in the county. So, but they opted to, and they wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to bring it through the public hearing process to allow for public input. There was public input, and in the end, they opted to not allow them any further. So that's my 2 cents on it. I think, as Mr. Bramblett said, if you could define where, but you can't, that would be a different story. But it is what it is. You either have one or the other. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Stone.
I have to say that I don't know anything about medical marijuana, but I know that it gives a seedy appearance to the community that it's in. It's like pornography shops. You go, well, it may be legal, but you don't necessarily want to look at it every day. So I would be against this. Or I guess I would say I would support
the change, yeah.
Prohibiting it, yes.
Commissioner Bramlett? Nothing.
The way it's written, I'm against it. I'm not a ban guy. I'm not into the bans, especially when it's been allowed. It's 2025. It's a new world. Federal regulations are changing. They're going to do restrictions whether they want to or not. And the way that this is written, it's either finite or not. And I don't like much of finite anything. Never is a long time.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Shara.
I think what's causing me some concern is without background or substance or understanding what problem is we're trying to solve. Listening to the presentation by staff, that this is a heavily regulated industry that has its own state guidelines that Joanna referenced were quite long and complex. Again, I think we're out of place in this process.
I probably couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if it's a Florida statute that allows this type of business to be here, it'd be kind of like a blood lab or chiropractors and other not hospitalization type institutions to come in and say, we don't want no more chiropractors we don't want any more blood labs. We have enough. It's kind of like the storage units. We have enough storage units. And now you know, here we are talking about something that I don't know if it really helps people or if it don't help people, but somebody convinced the state to say it helps people. And for me to say I am not going to allow facilities here that is helping somebody, especially the ones that I read about cancer and, you know, blood diseases, and this is actually helping people, and you can't get what they have at CVS or Walgreens. It's just really hard for me to support this. It's too vague to me. It's like you're banning something or banning somebody's business or opportunity. It just is confusing to me. Maybe I should have did more research on what it really does. If it's, I don't even never been in one. I know when you go by them, they're pretty well discreet. Can't see in them, but I don't know. I'm mixed.
You just need a motion then.
Can we ask your opinion, Madam Attorney?
I don't really have one.
Okay.
This is a policy decision, it's not a legal decision.
Well, I'll throw out a motion. The Planning and Development Commission finds application number OA-2025-000003 inconsistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends denial of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition.
Second.
So we have a first by Commissioner Bramlett, a second by Commissioner Facemeyer. Any further discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Can we get a verbal vote, please?
Sounds like it's 4-2.
4-2.
4-2.
All right. Thank you for indulging a long meeting after a couple off. Your next meeting, we have 2 applications, December 4th. So on December 18th, we do not have any. You can have Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate on the 18th. And the no good deeds go unpunished. Your January application hearing, we have 1 in January because January 1st would be the first one, which we're not going to be here for. So January 15th, you have 6. There is a lot of applications in the hopper, so I know it looks like we haven't had a lot. That's because staff is working very hard to get them ready for you guys to review. We're getting a lot of stuff that is missing some items that really aren't ready, but they're coming and they're moving. So 2026 will be busy. All of you, none of you are up for renewal. You're all not expiring next year, so you're all stuck with us.
Expiring.
January 5th, expiring in your term. Oh my goodness, county attorney. And so January looks awful. Sorry, the first meeting in January, the only meeting in January, but December 18th, no meeting. Okay.
All right, we'd also need to make a motion to approve the meeting dates.
So moved.
When is it in January?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we all approve the dates.
Thank you.
All right, happy Thanksgiving.
Chair, who was the first and the second on the meeting dates, please?
The-
The first and the second for the meeting dates?
I think they just said
Oh, he's first it, I second it.
Thank you.
first did it.
He firsted.
Yeah, I just jumped
Somehow.
over it, so you're good.
I just didn't want to forget it.
I did.
She would have chased us down the hall.
No, I had it written down. We weren't forgetting it.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by standing up.